Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Gavinsky's Tutorials. Today I'm looking at Bleass's new app, Bleass Phaser. As usual, it's great. Bleass, as you know if you follow my channel, are absolutely one of my favorite developers. They've been bringing out amazing stuff. Now, before I get started, let me mention I've got 4 copies of any Bleass FX app to give away to subscribers to the channel watching in the first 2 or 3 days of release of this video. All the details are in the pinned comment at the top of the YouTube comment section. Do pay attention. Any Bleass FX app, that means not their Groovebox, for example, or not Alpha Synth. But they have tons of FX apps, and in fact, I've got a playlist that I made of Bleass FX apps that I've done videos on. But there are some of their FX apps I haven't done videos on, so you can check those out in the App Store. But you can definitely also watch some of the videos that I've done on their other apps. Such an amazing developer. So Phaser is a really cool effect, and it can be very psychedelic, and it's very versatile. You can use it on tons of stuff. Like, for example, the first example I'm going to let you hear it on here is percussion, but later I'll let you hear it on synths, I'll let you hear it on noise, on some granulization. It's extremely versatile, really, really brilliant. Let me just mention, by the way, this has been an extremely busy week for the channel. There's been an absolute ton of apps coming out. So just in the last week, for example, I've done Pure Piano, Kylum, Audio Beef, which is really useful little plugin, Chow Tape, which is a free plugin, and so on and so on. So make sure you go through those archives if you've maybe not been keeping up with the pace of things. I'm also going to have a new video coming out tomorrow on an absolutely brilliant new synth coming out by another developer I love. So stay tuned for that. Okay, so let's first listen to an example here of Phaser, and then I'll talk a little bit about what a phaser is, and I'll go through more examples, and as we go through, I'll go through all the controls here so you'll understand what everything does. So I've got here Ting by Clave Grand, which I've also reviewed. And what I'm doing is I'm using Bleass Motion FX to EQ, to split this multi-channel, split the bass mid and high frequencies, and then I'm putting saturation on the bass. And I'm then putting this phaser on the mids. And then this phaser on the highs. So let's just play around a little bit with a few things here. This can be a lot of fun to play around with on percussion. Really nice. But now let's go and listen to it on, let's say, some synth sounds. And then I'll talk about what everything does. Okay, so here we've got Mononoke by Bram Bos. So let's get the phaser up and play with a couple of things. And I'll point out, I'll basically do a little walkthrough here as we go through this. Okay. So first of all, what is a phaser? Well, a phaser puts your signal through one or more all-pass filters, and this then creates phase cancellation. So if we see here, for example, we have 24 notches. That means it's going through 24 all-pass filters. So listen to what happens when we change the number of these. Now, this can actually be cool to get some little rhythmic effects. I love that. Okay, so here is the frequency of this notch. Now we can change this here using this frequency knob, or we can actually also touch the screen to move them around, so that's super cool. So this frequency is the central frequency. So we can see there are also spaces between these notches, and how wide these spaces are, how far apart their frequencies are, will depend on this spread setting. And this is going to change the sound that we're getting from the phaser a lot as well. Listen how beautiful this is. Now we can automate things in the app itself, so we've got an LFO for modulating the frequency, and we've got an LFO for modulating spread. But let's take a look and see. Yeah, see? Parameters exposed here, so you can also modulate things in your own ways. Now then, we can feed things back in, and with these values we have positive feedback, and here we have negative feedback, which is basically inverting the signal before feeding it back. Now here we have color, which is basically low pass filter, sorry. You can hear more high frequencies here. Here those high frequencies have been taken out. So let's look at the frequency LFO. So it can be synced or free. So either hertz values or note values. And we have a choice of sine or triangle. So with the sine, when it reaches the left side, it's going to linger a little bit before it starts going towards the right. And with the triangle, it's going to start moving back immediately. I'm liking the sine on this. Now we can separate the left and right stereo. And we've got our amount control. And then here with this LFO we can control the spread. So they'll come closer together and get further apart. So let's say we want that to happen more slowly, just bring this rate down. Or more quickly. And again, we've got free or synced. And again, stereo effect. Again, our choice of LFO shapes. An amount controller for the LFO. And we've got an overall mix depth. So let's go through and listen to a really experimental example. Okay, so here I've got ID 700, amazing synth, which yes, I'm sorry I have not reviewed yet. Too busy. That's a really big job to review that. Now listen to this. First I'm putting on a bit of Bleass saturator. Now we're going to get really crazy with the granulizer. So we're basically creating a kind of noise. Don't worry, this is going to sound better once I put the phaser on it. Add a bit of reverb. Let's go through some of the presets. Great for sound effects. I like this. Okay, let's listen to another drum example. So here we've got SugarBytes drum computer, which I've also reviewed. Now, some people complain that they don't think the kicks in this have enough punch. Well, I mean, one thing you can do, again, use Bleass Motion EQ to split the EQ signal across several channels and then separately add FX. So for example, here we could use Bleass Saturator, or we could use, for example, Kylum Audio Beef. That's been another good choice to beef up the bass frequencies. And then here what I've done is I've separated out. Now in my video on Bleass Motion EQ, I show how to do this, so you can go and watch that if you're interested. So here I'm applying different phaser to the mid and highs. So again, let's just see how we're beefing up with the saturator, the bass. Alright, let's listen to this on some guitar. So, guitar is one of the classic instruments to use phaser on, and here I've got a beautiful guitar example played by my lovely friend and collaborator Ian Ruddock. If you see him down there in the comments section, give him a shout out for his great work. I'll also put his email in the pinned comment, and if you're interested in contacting him for collaborations and so on, get in touch. He's a great guitarist, he's a great harp player as well, and an iOS musician. So, this is just lovely. Let's get this going here. Let's take the phaser off. Love this. Wonderful. Now let's finish off with something else experimental. So for our last example, I'm going to use Fundamental, which was a collaboration between Sonic Lab and Heinbach. that I reviewed on the channel before. I'll just ask you, everyone, getting towards the end of the video, if you haven't done it yet, please do remember to give this a thumbs up. And if you have the means, please do support me on PayPal. Some people do that. I really appreciate it, and to be honest, I really need it because I put so much work into this channel, and with a niche channel like this, there is so little reward in terms of YouTube ad revenue. I mean, one thing you can do is watch ads, and that does help, but to be honest, I really, really do need people's donations on PayPal to help me keep being able to do this. And thanks again to all the people who have already supported me on PayPal. I massively appreciate it. So, fundamental, we'll listen first. We just got a real dirty, lovely big sound going on here. And I love what the phaser is adding. So let's just play with a couple of things. So, this is just so cool for experimental music. I love it. Another killer app from Bleass. Brilliant interface. Really nice to have the built-in LFOs. All the parameters exposed. Sounds great. Extremely intuitive. I mean, Bleass, in my eyes, they just can't do any wrong as far as I see in their recent releases. They've been absolutely fantastic. So, go and get this, everyone. Brilliant app. And I'll see you in the next video. Take it easy.